The body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, blackish in complexion, was free from all inebrities. His lotus face, decorated with earrings, resembled a shark's, appeared very beautiful, and on his bosom was a mark of Srivatsa. He wore bangles on his wrists, armlets on his arms, and helmet on his head, a belt on his waist, a sacred thread across his chest, and ankle bells decorating his lotus feet. Madhu vrata vrata vigustaya swaya virajitak Sri Vanamalya Aya Hari Prajapater Vishma Tamak Svarochisa Vinasyan Kanta Nivista Kastubaha. An uncommonly beautiful garland of flowers decorated his bosom, and because the flowers were extremely fragrant, a large group of bees, making their natural humming sounds, invaded them for honey. When the Lord appeared wearing the Kaustuba gem on his neck, his effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of Prajapati Kashyapa. Nishak Prashed Juk Shalilasyatada Prajak Praharishta Ritavoguna Vithar Jor Antarikshan Shiti Agni Jivaha Gavo Vijat Sanjarshur Nagascha Chandra. At that time there was happiness in all directions. In the reservoirs of water like the rivers and oceans, and in the core of everyone's heart. The various seasons displayed their respective qualities, and all living entities in the upper planetary system, in the outer space, and on the surface of the earth were jubilant. The demigods, the cows, the Brahmins, and the hills and mountains were all filled with joy. So we come to this verse now. Translation. On the day of Shravan Dwadashi, the 12th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Bhadra, when the moon came into the lunar mansion Shravan, at the auspicious moment of Abhijit, the Lord appeared in this universe. Considering the Lord's appearance very auspicious, all the stars and planets, from the sun to Saturn, were magnificently charitable. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, an expert astrologer, explains the word Nakshatra Taradyaha. The word Nakshatra means the stars. The word Tara in this context refers to the planets, and Adaya means the first one specifically mentioned. Among the planets, the first is Surya, the sun, not the moon. Therefore, according to Vedic version, the modern astronomers' position that the moon is nearest to the earth should not be accepted. The chronological order in which people all over the world refer to the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, corresponds to the Vedic order of the planets, and thus circumstantiates the Vedic version. Apart from this, when the Lord appeared, the planets and stars became situated very auspiciously according to astrological calculations to celebrate the birth of the Lord. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svabhadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Mando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Mami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasdi Gaura Bhatta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada's talking about the order of planets, and it seems that he makes a full paragraph nearly on this point. So I was thinking that why such seemingly insignificant, information, because we don't usually depend on the planets. And it's actually very important. Prabhupada set up a whole institution, a scientific institution, on this particular point and things related to this point, Bhaktivedanta Institute, and he had his most scientific devotee, Bhakti Swarup Damodar, heading it up, and he spent his whole devotional service while he was present dealing with these scientists, because really if we can make a presence in the science world about this philosophy, then the whole world becomes affected. Everybody's so much into science. Very few people really follow religion very strictly, but scientifically, if we can prove it scientifically, everybody's impressed. And so this one thing about proving that the Vedas have got things right and the scientists have got things wrong, with the moon, they went to the moon. It's too far away to go to the moon, but they went to the moon. I know everybody's thinking twice now, but it just completely pulls the plug out of all their theories. It's all the scientific knowledge is immediately what they call it's supported. What's the word? The foundation is pulled out from all of the scientific jargon. Everybody will completely start to realize that, wait a minute, can we trust these people? They've got, they tell us the moon is nearer than the sun. They haven't got any more idea than what I've got about what is what. But actually, in these books, in the Vedic scriptures, it's already explaining these things. Why should we go to all this over endeavour to try and understand things? It's already there. And so this is why Prabhupada makes such a point on this. When I first heard this, I've heard it before about the position of the days. I thought, well, that's not very important. But when we really think about it, it's very important. So that's one point that's made here. And I'm not so much of a scientist, so I can't really go into it. But the other point here is that the Lord appears when all the planets are properly aligned. He has to wait while all the planets become properly aligned and everybody's ready, then he can appear. So this doesn't make sense, does it? That's what we have to do. We have to wait while everything's auspicious. And or the materialistic person has to wait while everything's lined up. He does everything in order and then things can happen. But Krishna's not like that. He doesn't have to wait for the planets to be lined up before he can appear. What's that verse? Let's have a look. There we are. Nama kamani limpanti name dveshasti napriya iti bhajanati kamavya na sabadite He says Krishna is not affected by anything in this material world. Nothing. So he's not affected by the planets. You see, the Bhagavatam is giving everybody information from different levels of understanding. Some is bhakti, that's the highest, but then there's Gyan in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The whole 11th canto is about Gyan. And then there's Karma Kanda. Everything's in there. But it says that this is the purest literature, because really it's only aiming towards bhakti. And so different people will read this in different ways. But when the Acharya puts his commentary to it, then everything becomes rectified. Without Prabhupada's purports, people can even try to interpret Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Mayavadis do that, don't they? They very much get into the Bhagavad Gita, but when it comes to the Bhagavatam, they have a little bit more of a hard time, and they eventually give it up. But when the Acharya puts his comments there, his purport, then it's quite straightforward. So Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Spotless Purana for that reason, that it's bringing everybody in to this point of accepting the path of devotional service. And so even in this verse, Prabhupada's talking about something which seems completely material and not really relevant, but he's making a point which will help people to understand the process of devotional service and have faith in these Vedic literatures instead of faith in temporary things which the scientists tend to put forward. So, Namam Kamani Limpanti. Then, before that, there's Chatur Varanyam Mayashristam, Guna Kama Vibhagasha, Tasha Akartaram Apimam, Vidya Akartaram Avyayam, Apimam. Akartaram, Krishna's saying that he's the creator of all this system, the four orders of human society. Everybody's under this order in the material world to some degree or other. We're under particular modes of nature. And so in order to work in those nature, Krishna creates these different orders. And but Krishna says, although I'm the creator of this system, the reason I've created it is because people, Kankshanta Kamada Nasidim, Yajitahiya Devata, they want to worship the demigods and get material boons. He says, but I'm not selfish like that. Akartaram, I'm the non-doer. I don't partake in this system. So this is indirectly related to this verse, that Krishna is not controlled by the planets. Is anybody controlled by the planets in here? Especially the moon. We're talking about the moon. Does anybody have any problems with the mind? The moon's very prominent with the mind. So, but Krishna's not affected. And so we have so many problems because of the planets, and we get into it now with the astrology. I even had one devotee who was very much well situated, but he was talking about the planets. I'm going through the Ketu's prominent now, Prabhu. And therefore I have to be careful. When this period is over, then I can go forward. It's not like that in devotional service, is it? Is it? What do you think? It shouldn't be. But to the degree that we are dependent on Ketu and Kratu and Yuhu and whoever else is there, then we'll be affected by them. But to the degree we take shelter of Krishna, then we're not affected. There was one book I read in Mayapur last year. It was one brought out by the GBC in charge of the congregational preaching. I forget his name. He's from Italy. Can anybody remember? Contea. He wrote one book on astrology, and there was another one he wrote about congregational preaching, the Sunday program. They were both very good, and there was a bit of humour in them. But in this one on astronomy, he went through. He wrote it in league with one Chinese devotee who was a very good astrologer, and she was going through all the different reasons, that we may have to take shelter of astrology, how it links to devotional service. And at the end, he said, "Just forget it." He said, "Forget it." Maybe if you're going to have a child, you can, okay, let's have a look, see what we can do for him. But other than that, we go to astrology to get married, don't we? But, it's a waste of time. I know one devotee, he approached his spiritual master, and he said the same thing. He says, forget it, Prabhu. It doesn't really matter. Because when we take to devotional service, then the marriage can work in devotional service. If we're both serious, there's possibility that it may work. Is that right? But if we don't, if one of them doesn't follow devotional service properly, then, everything's finished. Or it's very, very difficult. Is that right? So, Grihastha life, we say it's like, in the past we've said it's a demotion. But it's not, it's actually, Grihastha is higher than Brahmachari. Because he's supposed to be in charge of in control of himself, completely dependent on Krishna and herself. But otherwise, the planets come into operation, and that's a big problem in devotional service. What do you think? Is that reasonable to accept? Have we got any astrologers here? There's plenty of devotees who are really into astrology. But it's only if we're at that level. And to the degree we're into astrology and at that level, we'll suffer. We'll suffer. Because we'll read the astrology books and we'll think, no, I've cracked it. And it'll all fall apart in due course of time. Unless we take shelter of Krishna. No matter what arrangements we make. The only arrangements we can really make is when in doubt, When in doubt, get the bead bag out. And then we can, astrology doesn't start. They say when we go before the deities, what we do? Start clapping our hands. Then we look at and they've changed. Just by that clap. Prabhupada said that. So don't worry. It's all in the bead bag. Has anybody experienced that? Some days we really get into his rounds and it's like we're a different person. We see things completely different. Prabhupada said that the one who chants 16 rounds properly and follows 4 regulative principles is actually considered to be a pure devotee. Why? It's transcendental. He's on the transcendental path. Even though there may be so many habits there and so many due to previous association which are affecting us, but still, predominantly we're focused on the transcendental path. We know what we want. Krishna's never too far away, like that. So we're on the transcendental path, although there may be obstacles. Yes, Krishna's not affected. He's, and therefore, taking shelter of Krishna is the key. Taking shelter of his holy name. What's that? Ye tamams prapajante. Tam sateva vajamyaham. Mamo vart manavartante. Manusya partha sarvashaha. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So it's dependent, the onus is on the devotee. And that surrender is the chanting, really. If we can perform this Harinam Sankirtan, this chanting of the holy name nicely, then everything else falls into place. This is the alignment of devotional service. Even here, because the Supreme Lord is appearing, all the planets decide that we should toe the line. The planets are not dictating; they're falling into place because Krishna's coming. And this is backed up also in the 10th canto, when Lord Krishna's appearance, the first chapter. It says the moon shouldn't have been in that place at that time when Lord Krishna appeared. But he thought twice about it. He thought, actually, Lord Krishna's appearing in the moon dynasty. So the moon became jubilant, and he moved into, he became full. And so this is devotional service. When we become fixed in Krishna consciousness, we become jubilant and become full in life. And, automatically, the mind is dictating our future, isn't it? Whatever comes on the mind now, we'll do in the future. So the key is to control the mind, fix it in devotional service. And then we become jubilant and enthusiastic about devotional service. And when we become enthusiastic about devotional service, this is very pleasing to Krishna. What is it? Utsahan, is that right? Utsahan. Enthusiasm, the first thing we need. And so this is the morning program specifically designed that as soon as we get up, we have an opportunity to become enthusiastic. And then when there's enthusiasm, we naturally get a lot of realization. And we become purified. And then what happens when we become purified? What happens to our faith? It goes up. I was reading one class by Srila Prabhupada. A lot of people say, there's a question many times asked, where does faith come from? Is it that we have some faith, some devotees have some faith from the previous birth? Previous birth? Or is it the association of devotees? Or is it that we just become disgruntled with material life? These things are all concomitant, aren't they? It's coming by all these things. But Prabhupada says if we have faith, then we have a great boon. We can't purchase faith. But really, it's coming from purity, Prabhupada says. Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punya kamanam te danva nitya nirmukta bhajantimam dridavrata. Dridavrata means strong faith, strong enthusiasm. This verse is translated as saying that one who's acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful reactions are completely eradicated, then they can engage in devotional service with determination. So this seems like most people are disqualified, is that right? Most people don't seem to have a very pious background. When you go on the street in the Kali Yuga distributing books, you don't see a lot of angels walking down the street, do you? They are angels, but they're covered. And so, what's their qualification? There is some piety there. There is some piety there. And what's a devotee's duty? A devotee's duty is like Krishna. He sees a little bit of seriousness in somebody. He ignores everything else. And so this is a devotee, this is a preacher. He ignores all the nonsense and he sees that there's a spark of light here. Just like Jainitai was saying yesterday. He was talking about how this person was completely uninterested and he just kept on at him. And he got him to give a penny. I don't know whether we should go that far every time, but anyway. So when everybody can preach. It's not that we have to go out in the books. Everybody should be in the preaching mentality. That's Prabhupada's mood, isn't it? We should be thinking when we go out, can I go out in a dhoti today? What do you think? Raise a few eyebrows, maybe, but should I go out in a dhoti today? Or should I change from dhoti into kamis in order to do some shopping or something like that? Or just, devotees don't shop, do they? Do we? We don't shop, do we? We don't eat. We don't do that. No, when we start going out in a dhoti and doing what everybody else is doing, they think, they're normal. I once went to somebody's door when I was in Manchester, and they invited me in and they started talking to me. And, because I come from that part of the world, I could speak on the same level. And at the end of the conversation, you're normal. So this is preaching. We go out and we set a good example. We're friendly to people. People like that. And then there's a little bit of spark of appreciation in that person. And Krishna likes that. This person's appreciating the process of devotional service. Is appreciating the devotees. So this is preaching. Not necessarily we do 100 Bhagavad Gitas and, we get a good book score. Or we're going out every day, or we're doing so many things. No, it's what's real preaching? It's achar, isn't it? First our behaviour. And if our behaviour is that's prachar, that's big prachar. How do we know that? Any examples? I was thinking of George Addison. Before he came to the movement, he used to hear this chink, 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 chink. And he used to look through the window and there were Hare Krishnas coming up Oxford Street. And then they come back down again. And they did it every day, whether it were raining or whatever. And because of that impression, he really thought these people are actually serious. And so like that, we're serious about our own devotional service, whatever it may be, because it's all the same. It's not one type is better than another. And then we can actually preach. But this is the time of the year when we come out of our, what zone is it? The comfort zone. What's the comfort? How can we define a comfort zone? Is there anybody got a definition? We'll all have different definitions, won't we? The mind doesn't get fried. Is that the comfort zone? We can enjoy. Yeah, it's the same thing, isn't it? Enjoy. Don't become disturbed. But no, we're allowed to be disturbed for Krishna, to disturb our comfort zone, to go beyond what we're used to doing, do a little bit more. It's not so difficult, is it? Let's face it. And this is the day, this is the big day. Does anybody know what big day this is? It's a Gita Jayanti. And I just talked a little bit about Gita Jayanti. So, it seems that it's not by coincidence that it comes in the middle of the marathon, is it? We have the biggest book distribution period, and right in the middle is the Gita Jayanti. So this is, in Bhagavad Gita, same thing is that in order to present Bhagavad Gita so that we can distribute, Krishna had to do a lot of homework. Is that right? Look at, there's a whole Mahabharata. He wrote the whole, the whole pastime of the Mahabharata, which is 100,000 verses, is just to bring this to the point of Arjuna saying, "Hey Krishna, draw my chariot between these two armies, will you? Let's have a look at see who we've got to put up with." And so, similarly, when if Krishna goes through all that trouble just to deliver the conditioned souls, we should expect that it's not going to be easy when we get out there. He had to do all that indirectness to get us to a point of speaking the Bhagavad Gita. And so, in a devotee's life, Prabhupada said that one thing that we have to use in devotional service is two things. One is organisation, and the other one is intelligence. And so a devotee is always working on that platform of intelligence, trying to understand how he can apply this process so they can attract people to devotional service. It's like Arjuna before the battle. When you're going into a battle, you use diplomacy, don't you? You've heard of this diplomatic behaviour of the leaders. What's the first step you use in diplomacy when you're trying to get somebody to do what you want? What's the first thing? You've got an enemy, you've got a little bit of, it looks like being some trouble. First thing you do, you square up to one another. You see how strong the other one is. This is what usually happens. There's usually a bit of a threat. Oh yeah. You're going to do like that. But then you might think that, wait a minute, he's a bit bigger than me. So, what's the next step we do in diplomatic behaviour? Run? Yeah, we can do. We may reverse a little bit. Pull it reverse, reverse. And so the next one is, you're friendly, use nice words. And then if this fails, what do? Then you say, okay, I'll give you a position. You can be, I'll give you a job. Or you can become my left-hand man, right-hand man, whatever. And then what happens if that fails? Then you get into it, don't you? Then the battle starts. There's no option. So Krishna went through all these things before the battle of Kurukshetra. Anyway, we're going off the point a little bit, but we're talking about, Bhagavad Gita, how the Bhagavad Gita Jayanti, is that just to present this Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna went through the works. We were talking about the works the other day. What were we talking about, the works, were it? What were it about? Give him the works. First he tried to flatter the opposite side. He went to see Duryodhana. He showed his universal form. That was the threatening side. Then he tried to coerce him. Then the Pandavas said, look, don't worry, Duryodhana. We just want 5 villages. You can have the rest. It's not yours anyway, but you can have it. No, still not. So then, argumentum ad baculum. Then they had to fight. And so within the Kali Yuga, it's argumentum ad baculum. We have to get out there and do the needful. There's a full-scale battle going on. And so Prabhupada said this most important process is to distribute transcendental literature. This is how communism spread. The communists didn't have to do anything. They just sent the literature out and everything happened. And so this is how we make things easy for ourselves by going in the austerity of going out and distributing books. And even if we're not capable of doing that, there's so many ways we can preach. Is there anybody think any other ways we can preach in the community without having to really go out of the door much? We're talking about Gita, distribute the Gitas. We might have to go out occasionally, but not so often. Not like stood on the street all day. What we're having on Sunday, we're going to have the big, recitation. And there's thousands of Gitas have been sponsored. And what we can do with them all? They'll be there waiting. There's hotels out there waiting, like the Christians, the Gideon Bible, it's in every hotel room. What would it do to put these Bhagavad Gitas in a hotel? Ring up, tell them, and a few phone calls, get a contact, take a load of Bhagavad Gitas, put them in the hotel. Is there any real austerity in doing that? All you have to do is go and see Neela Madhava. Go and see Neela Madhava. Everybody out there. And he'll supply you with Bhagavad Gitas. You can put them in the hotels. Any others? In the libraries. I was on Sankirtan last week and one Mataji came up. Little frail Mataji, Indian, wife and family and everything. Says, have you got any of them sets? Well, I've been away, so I said, what sets? So I went to see Gurudas. I said, what's these sets? Then we put 10 books together, or 7 books together, was it? And she gave a tenner. She said, I'm going to go and put these in the library. She was doing her shopping. So, and she said, I want some more. I want to do this more. It's not a difficult thing. It's a little bit of time. And, we've got, how many thousands of congregation have got compared to devotees in the temple? We've got 6 devotees going out full time from the Brahmachari ashram, an associated ashram. But how many? There must be 6,000 who could, I don't know, what's our congregation? Any figures? It's in the thousands anyway. Just think if everybody just decided to distribute one Bhagavad Gita like that. But we can do better than that. We don't even have to do door to door. We tried that last year and there wasn't such a good response. Well, I think it's the way forward for the future actually. Prabhupada said this many times. But, okay, no door to door. Maybe this will come later. What about the hotels? What about the libraries? We can all spend a bit of time doing that. It's not a big austerity. Okay, so this is Gita Jayanti we've been speaking about. It's past. We'll see if there's anything else before we wrap up. There was some more things I wanted to say about how even the Pandavas were big preachers. Very big preachers. Maharaj Yudhisthira, he did more preaching than all of us put together in a lifetime. Why? Because he used his intelligence. Now, the Rajasuya sacrifice, it was all, do you think he was doing it just to glorify himself and put himself in the position of the king of the earth? He did it so that all the kings were there and Krishna was there. And they said, who should take the first offering of prasad, I think it was, or first oblations? Who's the most elevated person? And then Nakula did his bit. They were in league together. He stood, no, not Nakula, Sahadev. He said, it's Krishna. And so they preached about the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead amongst all the leaders of the world. That's why Yudhisthira did that. So we can do something. So we can stop there. Anybody got any comments or questions? Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.